Hey there, I'm Darkflight, and welcome to my third tutorial video for the Light Assault. Today I'll be showing you how to navigate your terrain and combat environment in order to win against enemies with advantages such as better aim or greater numbers. At face value, a Light Assault is little more than an engineer with less utility. However, when a Light Assault knows how to utilize their environment, they can easily become the largest influence in the fight. To further explain that, most classes are limited by their lack of mobility, which means that the environment of a battle defines their actions. However, a Light Assault uses their incredible mobility to decide which lanes and terrain a fight will center on. But the trick is picking the right parts of your environment to navigate to. This gameplay style is all about positioning and speed, which is why the Icarus jump jet dominates this playstyle. I personally have a bad muscle in my hand which causes my hand to twitch when I stress it. However, playing at high sensitivity mitigates the need to strain my hand. This, of course, limits my ability to chain headshots, which is often the cornerstone of most other playstyles. But it does work to my advantage with a movement-focused gameplay style. Anyway, in previous tutorials, I've slowed or stopped time to let you analyze the scene, but viewers have indicated that it's disorientating, and they need to see the clips in real time to be fully involved, so I've developed a more dynamic real-time system. When analyzing the environment and terrain, you'll need to understand this color-coded legend. I'll be defining anything that's static in the world as terrain, so trees, structures, the ground, and when I refer to environment, I'll be covering anything that's dynamic, such as vehicles, players, deployable objects. In this situation, the dynamic Sunderer becomes a pit stop for my Icarus jets to recharge, and also acts as a bridge for me to move where I want to go. While I'm disarmed and waiting for my C4 to detonate, this static bridge becomes a shield, giving me the survivability to rearm myself and return fire. Be mindful of your movements when you're using cover. This Light Assault barely lands a shot on me as they are strafing their own bullets into their cover. Do your best to chain your actions into a single seamless method. For example, when you're moving to cover, you're also throwing C4 or throwing a grenade. Alright, here's a typical solo point breach and hold. Use your speed and verticality to face off with and defeat your enemy. Use it again to see enemy reinforcements before they become a threat. And use your new intel and speed to find the best cover to counter their approach. This simple theory works the same way in open combat. When you're already in the firing line, take the best position you can, the high ground. Analyze the new data. Target the highest threat. Use your mobility to reposition and gain the advantage of them. Eliminate them, move to cover, rinse and repeat. Repositioning yourself is so effective because it confuses the enemy. You're creating misinformation in their minds. So they have to process that misinformation, which means you're slowing their reaction speeds before you even engage them, improving your chances of winning the engagement remarkably. And always remember that when cover is too far away to duck into, you can always use your jetpack to bounce off the terrain and the environmental elements to easily get to where you need to go. To further increase your chances of being an effective Light Assault, you need to think ahead of time. If you conduct yourself in a predictable way, enemies will respond in predictable ways as well, and when you know exactly how the enemy will behave, you can take them out with minimal effort and keep on moving. This thought process extends from reading the situation, but instead, place yourself in the enemy's shoes, figure out how you would counter yourself, and then counter that approach. A Light Assault that's useful is one that's flanking and hunting high priority targets or clearing areas that are difficult to breach for standard infantry. Now, this has to be a constant process, and if you're trying to read all of the information in real time, you'll become exhausted very quickly. I mentioned prediction earlier. It's truly a core part of sustained fast-paced gameplay. You have to hear the sounds and build the scene in your mind before you round the corner, and that'll alleviate a lot of the stress. Now, luckily, people are consistently impatient and feel most comfortable when they're doing predictable things, so it makes it pretty easy for us to predict them and control their actions. Here, this Max Nest is the highest priority target. We'll kill their infantry guardians from a distance before they can warn the Maxes of our approach. Analyzing the situation, we find the Maxes are clumped together. Whether this is because of greed or for comfort, I'll never know, but it makes our job quite a bit easier. After the first C4 detonates, one Max is still left alive. He's surprised by the attack and defaults to his instincts. He'll hide in a place that is familiar and has the most cover. But after a moment, he'll comprehend that there's always a second brick of C4, and he'll try to run from it. But this thought train is the most common course of action available to him, so we've already thrown our C4 to his exit, rather than his hiding spot, and we have him before he can really build up a plan. Enemies that get the first shot on you often gain a very strong sense of confidence in their ability to win an engagement, especially when they have the better cover. People prefer to be impatient, however, so if you flail around for a bit and make them feel like they're the greater threat, they'll often just walk out of their cover for you. Just remember to always reposition and keep up your pace, and you shouldn't find any single class or weapon to be able to counter you. If an enemy has the drop on you, he's likely already decided exactly how he's going to shoot you, so run to the side immediately when you notice their approach. This is just like the misinformation trick I showed you earlier, except in these cases, the enemy is giving themselves all the misinformation by preconceiving the way the firefight will unfold in their minds. Throughout the video, you've seen that I often try and find the best cover before I engage in a firefight. However, when the enemy has larger advantages such as greater numbers, you should use every trick you can to even the odds in your favor. So in this situation, I use the element of surprise to eliminate one of the enemies, then I choose to reposition myself. While repositioning, I throw a grenade in the middle of them to control how they'll be moving around. And it's important to know exactly how someone's going to move, even if that means giving them the best firing position. So long as you're informed and can predict someone, you will have the greater advantage when it comes to the fight. In this situation, I was caught off guard by this enemy who was just standing out in the middle of nowhere and doing apparently nothing. So I panic move into the closest cover, as my shields were almost fully depleted from the last opponent I faced. The cover I was forced into also happens to be easily countered by the best cover in the room, which my opponent now has access to and will naturally move to. My only option is to rush him while he's in the open and use my superior rate of fire and the high ground to try and win the closer range engagement. By now, you should be able to imagine the red static highlights and the gold prediction highlights on your own. If not, please watch the video one more time, as we're moving past that now. This next segment is going to teach you the when and the why of what I'm doing with that information. Alright, now, this fight covers a large array of thought processing that can be applied to many situations. Here, the enemy hold the point room. Light assaults that don't use shotguns often have issues trying to breach these buildings, so we're going to be hunting high priority targets that are hard to access for most infantry, in hopes of taking the strain off our allies, whom are better equipped for point breaching this kind of building. This spawn beacon takes priority, as it allows the quick reallocation of medics and engineers to the high ground for the oncoming max crash. Remember, our objective is high priority targets, not stopping the trickle of random infantry whom are distracted by rushing to the door anyway. This includes the enemy who has spotted me. A quick dart in my eyes lets us see that his aim is quite poor, so he's not worth engaging at the risk of someone else killing us or even just slowing us down. So, just keep moving. A motion spotter, easily one of the most dangerous elements of a fight. Remember how I spoke about prediction? The enemy being able to track our exact movements on the map gives them an incredible advantage, especially in a point hold. However, we can notice a max unit on the mini-map. Now, in the context of the ongoing max crash, the highest priority is not letting two doors be fully crushed by maxes at once. And again, from our mini-map, we can see that one door is already heavily occupied. So the highest priority is for us to kill this max or to delay him. And the best way to do that is let him rush to the doorway. Now, while this motion spotter is alive, he'll feel confident in his ability to approach the doorway, so we're going to leave it alive. However, we're going to place a C4 trap near enough to destroy the spotter as well as the max, without having them too close together. Now, when he approaches, he'll be looking at the door, not the floor, and because he expects to see a motion spotter on the ground, it won't trigger his mind to the danger. Again, if I destroyed the motion spotter, his mind would be more on guard, and he wouldn't be expecting to dismiss any small shapes on the ground. Right before detonation, I choose to run close to the edge of the building, as I had planned to shoot him if he had survived via flak explosive resistance. As I said, working with real-time thought will tire you very quickly. So as you can see, even though I already know I've killed him, I still fire where he would have been if he had survived, because my mind isn't in that moment, it's busy planning the future situations. While swapping to C4, make sure to use the terrain as cover, as you're very vulnerable while swapping weapon. Finish off the heavy, as he also has the high ground advantage and could be dangerous if left unchecked. Our next objective is to neutralize the point. Once the timer stops ticking and other slower infantry should be moving on to the point, our highest priority should switch back to clearing the high ground of any target. This medic could be dangerous, however, as he may revive max units, etc. Don't be afraid to hipfire while flying, it's really quite effective, and any DPS you can inflict while on the move is exactly what you're playing Light Assault for. The only remaining targets on the high ground are partially a dead engineer and his Spitfire, so it's not such a big deal. This Max recognizes that I've killed his medic and targets me. I use the speed of the Icarus to avoid damage, and as I fly, I notice the glow of an engineer repairing the Max. This is problematic for us as we're out of C4 and grenades. Still, 30 bullets at about 143 damage per shot is really nice DPS. As we Rambo in, we're lucky to find that a heavy has just hit the Max with a rocket. With a Max missing a quarter of his health, he's now within a killable range for us. So we simply keep that DPS up while we're moving, like always. At this point I was a bit overstimulated and I messed up my jump. I should have landed on this door frame and shot the Max in the back of the head as he chased us out of the building. However, even though I landed right in his line of fire, I kept moving and kept shooting, which made him miss the majority of his shots up until we eventually killed him. Well, that wraps up episode 3. I apologize for the delay. The script is currently 4,423 words long, and refining abstract ideas and experiences into an easy-to-deliver piece of knowledge is quite the task. Still, I hope you can extract what I was trying to say. For example, if you want to predict someone, play in a predictable way, and so will they. Did that come through clearly? If not, please comment or message me directly, and I'll see if I can further explore the concept in future videos. Thanks very much, and good luck.